This is the story of Charles, a man who had everything: love, respect, a home, but lost it all due to carelessness. In the heart of an old African town called Ighoa, where the streets echoed with laughter and morning markets were mad with beehive of activities. Charles was popular and was a force to reckon with. He was tall, handsome, and has the gift of gab. Whenever he spoke, people got thrilled and always looked forward to seeing him speak. People even joked that he was able to disarm a man who came to rob him in his house through mere ways of the mouth. He was a kind of man mothers prayed that their son would become. Charles had a wife named Idara, a woman whose beauty didn't shout but glowed in her kindness, her wisdom, and her quiet strength. She seemed to be perfect match for Charles. They had been married for 5 years, supported each other to earn a meaningful life, and built a modest home together. Above all, they had a decent business putting food on their table. Their union looked like a perfect relationship made in heaven, and they were able to afford the basic necessities of life. Meanwhile, Charles' resolve and commitment soon came to test. Charles got entangled to a young lady who was the toast of the town. She was a beauty to behold, with hourglass shape. What began with stolen glances later graduated to smiles and a laugh that lingered too long. The young lady's name was Amaka, a woman with spark of seduction in her eyes and an aura that hypnotized most of her suitors. She wasn't from Ighoa, but she came from a town few kilometers away from there. She was considered new, exciting, different, and full of life. She understood the kind of respect her beauty commanded and exploited every ounce of it. Just tried to ignore her at first, thinking she was overrated and was unnecessarily sexualized by men. Little did he know that Amaka would turn out to be his albatross. One afternoon, after visiting the shopping mall, Charles passed by Amaka's house. She was sweeping the frontage of her room. Their eyes met, and she smiled at him. Charles couldn't resist the charming look. He felt like a helpless baby and smiled back. At that moment, Charles' heart started ticking like a clock in the devil's workshop. It was like there was a butterfly in his stomach. Things happened so fast. Before Charles could say Jack, he was neck deep into the relationship. What started like a joke turned out to a very serious affair. Charles has brought an ant-infested wood to his home, and he would have to deal with the reality of warding off the unwanted pest. Idara noticed. Of course, she did. She noticed the late nights, the sudden perfume that wasn't hers. She noticed that a man didn't feel comfortable when looking into her eyes any longer. Idara kept her calm. She never yelled. Neither did she throw tantrums expected of a typical lady. Instead, she prayed. She hoped that her loving man would come back to her and tell her those beautiful words she did hear. Charles didn't stop. He got stuck. In fact, he fell deeper, like he was under a spell. To Charles, Amaka was fun to be with, adventurous, classy, and presentable. She made him feel new. He thought it was love. He thought this was all he prayed for. So, one fateful night, under the stars, Charles made a choice. He left Idara for Amaka. He packed his things and left for a distant apartment he arranged for the sole purpose of uniting with Amaka. He left and never thought for a second the consequences of his action. Soonest, the news of his strange decision spread like a wildfire over the town. People were amazed on why a man would embark on such a risky adventure. Idara never cried in public but behind closed doors. The woman who gave her all was breaking because she felt unwanted and unappreciated. Regardless of the storm, she never caused any drama. She kept calm and left everything to take its natural course. She occupied her mind with diverse activities and didn't allow anything to weigh her down. And Charles, at first, life with Amaka was everything he imagined: laughter, freedom, adventure. However, the elders say a house built with saliva will be destroyed by dew. In no distant time, Charles began to see the other side of Amaka she had been hiding. Though Amaka was charming, she was quick to anger, lived a flamboyant lifestyle that was not sustainable, and placed Charles under undue pressure. She was also the domineering type. She had no sympathy and was self-centered. She didn't care for Charles when he was sick. She flirted with other men and never respected him. At first, Charles waved off these red signals and thought she would learn to love him. She didn't change, but got worse and more emboldened in displaying her negative manners. He soon realized he was in for a long ride. He got tired of Amaka's lack of commitment, respect, and love. He started missing Idara, the woman meant for him. Idara's quiet smiles, the food always waiting for him, the prayers she whispered when she thought he was asleep, were all what Amaka couldn't offer. He missed home. So, one morning, with shame in his heart and years of regret weighing him down, Charles returned to Ighoa. He walked through the alleys leading to his former home with grief in his heart. Those who once celebrated him started looking at him in disdain. He wasn't bothered. He was determined to right his wrong. He reached the house, but it looked different. Fresh paints, a new garden, sounds of joy filled the house, and it was bubbling. Charles stood at the gates, unsure of the next step to take. Then the door opened. Idara stood there, stronger, happier, a child holding her hand. Another man beside her, gentle, kind, and protective. She had moved on. And in that moment, Charles understood. Some mistakes can be forgiven, others must simply be lived with. He didn't enter the gates, he didn't beg, he just stood there and whispered, "I'm sorry." And Idara, she gave a small nod. No hate, no anger, just peace. Because sometimes letting go is the greatest love of all. The story of Charles is not just about betrayal, it's about choices, about what we chase and what we leave behind. So, if you ever find yourself standing at a crossroad between loyalty and lust, between home and fantasy, remember Charles and choose wisely. Thanks for watching. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, share it. See you in the next one.